Chapter 7. A Headache. Francie drove her aunt's boat across the lake, where she found Sandy in the process of inspecting a boat. "Inspecting it for what?" Francie asked when he was finished. "Drugs?" she joked. "Plant life and stuff," he explained. "Invasives. Zebra mussels, mud snails, milfoil. Any one of those things could change this lake forever. Not in a good way." Francie nodded. "Oh, yeah, I've heard about zebra mussels. Nasty things. So they're in lakes around here?" "Yup," he said. "We're surrounded. Anybody wants to launch a boat here, it gets inspected." "What if you find something?" "Then they have to get the boat decontaminated. The DNR has a unit in Walpurgis." Francie followed Sandy to the store, where he took 2 bottles of soda out of the cooler, popped the caps, handed her one, and led her outside, where they sat on the edge of a trampoline. "I'm wondering," Francie mused, "do you think something sinister has got going on over there?" She nodded her head toward the far shore. Sandy took a swig of his Coke. "Don't know," he said. "What are you thinking?" "It's my aunts," Francie said. "They think something fishy is going on. There have been so many deaths." She thought of telling him about the feeling of being followed, but held back. She was less and less sure that had happened. "People are getting old," Sandy said. "That's what I said too, but they're not dying of old age. They're dying in bizarre accidents. Did you hear about Warren?" Sandy shook his head sadly. "Who'd have thought he would commit suicide?" "My aunts don't think he did." Sandy looked at her sideways. Even in a sideways glance, she could see his blue eyes shifting colors. Pale blue, then turquoise, a flash of cobalt. "What do they think?" he asked. "I don't know exactly." Francie hedged a little. She didn't want to paint her aunts as any more kooky than people already thought they were, so that she changed the subject. "Last night you mentioned that your dad died of a heart attack on a hunting trip." Sandy stared at his Coke bottle. "But you sounded like you weren't sure about that." Sandy shrugged. "Yeah, I guess I did. I don't know why. Why shouldn't he die of a heart attack? People do. Must have had a bad heart." The wind pushed the poplar branches around so that light fell on them in flickering bursts. Francie squinted against it. It seemed to aggravate the headache she felt coming on. "You didn't know that he had a bad heart?" Francie asked. Sandy shook his head. He hadn't had any problems before. "So something doesn't seem right about it, does it?" Sandy looked at her for a long moment, and she quickly said, "The thing is, when you said that about your dad, I felt this twinge inside, because I've never believed my dad died accidentally either." "I thought it was from a car accident." Francie nodded. "It was. It just was never explained well enough in my mind." Sandy nodded and started to talk. "That's the way I feel too. My dad went to his hunting shack with a bunch of buddies, and I couldn't go. First time ever I didn't go along, but I was on the football team, so he went with a bunch of other guys." "Who?" Francie asked, taking out her notebook. "Just a minute," Sandy said. He disappeared into a door that said office and returned with a scrapbook. "Mom's a scrapbooker," he explained, paging through it. He pointed at a photo of 2 dead deer draped over the hood of a car. Standing nearby were 3 men in blaze orange hunting gear. 2 of the men beamed wide smiles at the camera. The expression on Sandy Sr.'s face, however, looked more like one a deer throws at oncoming headlights. "Those 2 look happy," Francie commented. "But look at your dad's face." "I know," Sandy said. "It's not like him. It's one of the reasons I've always wondered about that whole event." "Could he have been feeling ill then?" "Yeah, that's what others, including my mom, said, that he wasn't well. Anyway, neither of these guys would have wanted any harm to come to Dad. They were like brothers. This one here is his brother, in fact. They'd been fishing and hunting together for years, and they both wept like babies at the funeral. I'd never seen anything like it. That's why I don't really know why there was some kind of foul play, or whatever you call it. It's just a feeling. There wasn't an autopsy, I suppose, Francie said. Sandy shook his head. No, we're not really autopsy-type people. Sandy, Francie said, there's one other person you've not mentioned. Who? The person who took this picture. Who took it? Sandy blinked at her. I don't know. Where was this picture taken? It was at the shack. You can see it there in the background. Was there another person along on the trip? Nobody mentioned another person. Look at the shadow. Cindy squinted at the picture. Once you know what you were looking at, the shadow of a photographer was clear. That's why you get paid the big bucks, right? He said, as a detective. No, she said, I'm not a... Sandy's attention was diverted by a truck that pulled into the parking lot. A couple of guys got out and headed toward the store, and Sandy got up to follow them in. Getting a load of potatoes? Francie asked, nodding at the truck. The words Northland Potatoes were emblazoned on the side of it. What? Sandy asked, turning back. Then, looking at the truck, he said, No, these guys are scouting the area for a big corporate potato growing operation. For McDonald's French fries, I guess. How do they expect to grow potatoes in the middle of a forest? Oh, if they decide to plant potatoes, the forest has to go. Has to go? Francie asked. They just remove it, Sandy said. 1,500 acres at a time. Apparently, the sandy soil is what they want. Whoa, Francie said. Yeah, Sandy agreed. Seems like everyone around here wants something other than forest from this forest. Francie stared for a long while at the truck, thinking about what Sandy had said. Then she walked to her aunt's car, jingling the keys, and supposing that if you were going to grow potatoes, you'd need a road to wherever it was you were going to plant them.